I'm Tracy Burns from Fox Business. Welcome to my favorite time of the week. We get to talk wine with me. And today, we actually got two people here that probably can talk about wine like 50,000 times way more than I can, because I know nothing compared to these guys. Jeff Jensen, Mike DeSimone. You guys are the worldwide wine guys.
World wine guys.
I'm kidding. So, World Wine Guys. It's worldwineguys.com if anyone wants to check it out.
Yep.
How did the World Wine Guys start?
You
Wanna
know,
take that one?
Actually, we have been writing about wine for years now. and-
Together?
Yeah, together.
yeah, we were together.
So you started together one
Yeah.
day?
Yes.
I mean, because it's only as of late I feel like that wine is so hot. You've been doing
Yeah.
this for a long time.
Probably, I've been a somm for, over 20 years. And Mike's, studied journalism.
I started
at NYU.
journalism, and we started traveling together and visiting wine regions, and then it became this like, wow, this is really great. Let's write about this stuff.
So
Let's
like
let
you're
other
the
people
sommelier
know.
who knows the wine, you're the writing guy. This is a
Right.
great, this is like, here's the chocolate to my peanut butter.
Exactly.
So let's talk about how you guys fell in love with the Southern Hemisphere. It's
Wow.
warm.
Yeah, it's warm.
It's warm.
And it's when it's winter here, it's summer down there, so it's all great. But you know what? We actually recognized a need. There's so many wine books out there that are written about wine, and they're inadvertently written about the Northern Hemisphere because it's France, Spain, Italy,
Cali, yeah.
Germany, California.
And there are individual books about Argentina or about Australia, but this is the first time anybody's ever put all this information into one place.
It's like an encyclopedia.
4,000 words more than the New Testament. And I know that thanks to Google.
Really.
Okay, so the Southern Hemisphere, South America, I think in particular, right? Some great wines coming out of there at really reasonable prices. I mean, speaking about paying the bottom of the list,
Right.
there's no need.
Right.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we really loved about it. We recognize the need for a book about wines of the Southern Hemisphere because nobody had ever done it before. And some amazing wines are being made down there. They're still growing the same grapes. I mean, there are indigenous grapes, but they're growing Chardonnay, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, all these grapes that we know as the European varietals, but they're growing it in a different terroir, and they're
Right.
growing it in South America, so the wine's going to have a different flavor. But we recognize the need to kind of put all of these countries together, and the book encompasses Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Uruguay, South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia. So we traveled to 7 different countries for 18 months.
Oh, that's really hard research.
It was
I don't know.
really
Well,
hard.
you do have to keep legible notes.
Now, Australia, like, the Syrah or Shiraz, however
Right.
we were going to say it, that, could you argue that was one of the first big Southern
I
Hemisphere
think
wines?
it was,
Yeah,
and that was like
I
back
think
in the 90s. We saw a lot of those, and then it kind of dropped off
Right.
for various reasons. And what we're seeing, we actually brought with us today a Robert Oatley Riesling, and we're starting
so
to see,
hot
yeah,
now,
we're starting
right?
to see like more Rieslings and Pinot Noirs from Australia. This is a dry Riesling, so what they're doing is not so much that like sweet thing, but it's kind of got like like lemon lime flavors, that kind of thing. But this is something you would have with like oysters or with Thai food. It's not a sweet Riesling.
Yeah, this is a great one, like for takeout Chinese or takeout Thai. This is a wine that goes really great. It's not really sweet, but it's got a hint of sweetness.
Now, this is Australia.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So, okay, let's move on. What's this?
That's New Zealand. That's Quartz Reef. A guy named Rudy Bauer is an amazing winemaker down in New Zealand, in the central Otago region, all the way in the south part of the South Island.
Which you had to go to.
It's real. We had
Yeah,
to go.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
top to bottom.
Really, we went to all these places. And Rudy's making a great champagne-style sparkling wine. And, I say champagne-style. We all know that you can't call it champagne if it's outside of champagne. But this is using the same grapes as champagne. It's using Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And this is an amazing value compared to...
How much?
It's
this
about
one-
$22.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
that.
most champagnes from France, which I love, please, I love
A decent
champagne.
champagne starts at about 50.
But
Right.
again, you wouldn't think New Zealand. I should go buy a New Zealand champagne.
Yeah.
Like, I love that we're bringing this kind of stuff to the table
Right.
here.
Right.
Literally, what's this?
This is Kanunka. This is called Cadet. This is what's known as a Cape blend. It is a grape that's grown pretty much only in South Africa called Pinotage.
Yeah.
And then it's blended with Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. to
South
kinda-
Africa. Like,
South
we're talking
Africa.
like Cape Town?
We're talking Cape Town.
Yeah,
We're
most
talking
of the
Stellenbosch,
wine of the Cape winelands are
Cape
actually
Town.
very close to Cape Town, where they
Half-hour
grow
ride,
grapes.
an hour ride. I mean, Cape Town is, I'm sure you've been there, it's a beautiful
Oh, yeah.
city. And it's a lot like San Francisco. I mean, it's like a city kind of on the bay, and the really cool thing about it is that you have the Indian Ocean meeting the Atlantic
Right.
Ocean. So you have this confluence, and it's a really neat area.
All right, so let's move on. I think we're in Argentina now.
Yeah.
We are in Argentina. This is from Trivento, which is the winery, and it's from Mendoza. And this is a Malbec. And this is, a lot of times people think of Malbec as being these like really like heavy wines to
Right.
have with a steak.
Yes.
This is only 6 months in oak, so it's
Right.
a lot
so this
lighter.
is a little bit lighter. It goes with a little bit more delicate food. I mean, when I think Malbec, I want a big, juicy porterhouse. When I think Trivento, I'm thinking more elegant meals, So, maybe a beef bourguignon or something this would go really nice with, or even a veal.
I actually think even the acidity in this, being Sicilian, I would have this with
I'm with two
spaghetti and
Sicilians
sauce, with red sauce. I think there's enough acidity.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's kind of it kind of would stand up to a Chianti.
Huh.
It really
and how
is
about your
super.
final bottle?
This is Erasmo. This is made by the Count Cinzano from Italian, Cinzano fame.
Yeah.
And this is a really, really super wine. It's made in Chile. It's a great blend. And what it is, it's just a really perfect wine for really maybe heavier cuisine, maybe a steak. But the really cool thing about this is that I think it's like $32.
It's $32, and this is what we call a Bordeaux blend. So it's Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and Cabernet Franc. But Bordeaux wines can be more expensive.
Right.
Right.
This is the most expensive wine we brought today, and this is $32.
Is that the biggest takeaway from the Southern Hemisphere? Is that you can get almost the equivalent
Yeah,
at a cheaper price?
It is a big takeaway, but one of the things that we have to realize is that it's quality for the price. And Europe is really expensive right now because of the euro and
Oh, so it's more bang
currency.
for your buck, you're
so
saying.
it's
Yes,
way
it's
more bang
it's more
for
bang
your
for your
buck.
buck, but I don't think it's necessary. People think of like Chile as like, oh, I'll get my my $7
Right.
Sauvignon
Right,
Blanc.
right,
There's,
right.
there's a lot better wines.
So how
than
do I
that.
do it? How do I figure it out? I mean, we'll put these on our website, but how? I suppose I should buy the book.
Right.
Definitely buy the book. Actually, that's your book.
That's yours.
Well,
you don't have to
like-
buy
We'll
it now.
sign it to you. at the end.
But let me ask you about a book, because there's a lot of wine books out there. I go
Right.
buy all these wine books. Wines age, they taste different.
Sure,
So whatever
sure.
you wrote about, whatever in here is going to
Right.
be different a year from now.
You know,
how do you keep up?
The individual wine notes are going to be different, but the history
Right.
hasn't changed in any of those
And the
countries.
style is
the
similar.
major grapes that they're growing. There's certainly some up and comers. They're starting to grow Syrah in Chile, but even so, people still know Chile for Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc and Carmenere.
If you had to
Teaching.
pick the next hot region before I let you go, where is it? And it doesn't have to be in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think we're probably going to differ on this. I love New Zealand, and we talked about, Rudy making Central Otago wine. It's the most beautiful region. It's like you're in fjords, like you're in Norway and Sweden. There's these unbelievable big like ice flows and fjords that are just amazing. And then you have, hills with vines on it, and it's just stunning. I think that's going to be the next hot region because they're making great Burgundian style wines, some Chardonnays and some Pinot Noirs. So that would be my pick. Do you have a different opinion?
I think Casablanca in Chile, which is part of the Central Valley. It's not that far from Santiago. High elevation near the coast, so really good cold weather. They're
that's
doing Sauvignon Blanc, they're doing Chardonnay, they're starting to do some Pinot Noir and also some cold weather
So you
Syrah.
did both pick Southern Hemisphere.
Well, yeah. I mean, we are
Hey.
kind of like partial to it. Hey, and I also
It does pay the bills and all.
There you
for
go.
all our friends in Burgundy and Bordeaux, we love you guys too, and Champagne. But there's a lot of old wine writers out there talking about these regions. We like to think that we bring a breath of fresh air to it. We're
Yeah.
not the 20-year-olds,
Well-
we're not the 30-year-olds, but
No elbow patches on
no
my
elbow
jacket.
patches, exactly. This
I
not a
just love the
corduroy
notion
jacket.
that you can get something fantastic and it doesn't have to be French. Or,
Right.
quite
doesn't.
frankly, everyone really nowadays, I think, defaults to big Cali cabs.
Right.
And
Sure.
you don't have to do that either. Okay, so the website is worldwineguys.com. This is
Right.
like a big old tongue twister. I think you did it on purpose. Jeff Jensen, Mike DeSimone, thank you so much. Which
thank
one are you
you.
going to open?
Whatever one
Let's
you
pop
want.
the cork. This was fun. Let's go
right.
for the sparkling.
Go have a glass of wine.